Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Right Time, a Wave Sports and Entertainment original presented by Prize Picks. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening wherever you get your podcast. Thanks for watching us on YouTube. Subscribe, like, rate us, review us, give us 5 stars. You only give us 4 stars, I'm inclined to believe you are a hater. Also, check out the Right Time YouTube channel. Lots of YouTube exclusive content there, including my thoughts on what's going on with the Bears and Caleb Williams. Check that out at our YouTube channel. But first, it is that time of week where we have a guest join us. She is the host of the Mina Show with Lenny, who's a dog. Mina, what's going on?
Hi, so glad to be here.
Hey, man, I am glad to have you. I'm trying to think, should we talk about the nerd stuff first, or should we get straight? Okay, so
no. We got to start with the nerd stuff, yeah.
We got to start with the nerd stuff. Okay, so I know that a lot of you who consume my content find it to be ironic that I refer to other people as dorks. Your belief is that I am a dork myself, and I have always contended that I'm really a nerd about cool stuff. Like, I'm a big music nerd, I'm a big sports nerd. I don't have a lot of direct nerdish behavior in that way. Y'all are misunderstanding. I'm just smart. It's not the same thing, right? So I got a call a few weeks ago. I saw that look. I got a call. This was last year, since 2023, when we were doing promo for the second season of Game Theory. And the host of the Puzzler podcast, my man Greg and my man AJ, they had read in some article that while I would host radio segments, I would also do crossword puzzles. And so they had me on the Puzzler podcast. It was really interesting, and I did puzzles with them. And then Greg he runs the Wonderful World of Words at the Mohonk Mountain House in Mohonk, New York. And they asked me to come up and do a talk for Friday night, and I got to stay at the resort and be there for the Wonderful World of Words, which was a puzzle convention. It was lots of people who came unified by their love of doing puzzles. Like, you get in and they give you a folder, and the folder is full of puzzles. There was a crossword puzzle that goes in a spiral, and it answers itself going inside and outside. So you can start from the outside or start with the inside, and you have different clues. Like, you have a crossing down. No, they have increasing and decreasing, and you could do the crossword puzzle that way. And they had like little word games for you to play. Like, they gave you this starts with C, ends in T, and you had to find some orange to fill out, what was in between. We did that. I gave my talk on Friday. The people seemed to really appreciate. I did a talk about jargon being gatekeeping, as it was the Wonderful World of Words. And so I was just encouraging people to be careful with the words they use, speak inclusively, not exclusively, because all jargon does is keep people out of the conversation that you're having. If you're already in a private conversation, feel free to use it, but keep people out. So I'd done that. I saw a fascinating presentation on escape rooms. I had no idea what an industry the escape rooms had become. Forgive me. I know the website is roomescapeartist.com. I can't remember the couple's name. They have been to 1,200 escape rooms. It sounds like escape rooms in the Netherlands are the bizarre. And I listened to them. My man said he did a talk at an escape room conference in Poland. Like, you got to understand, man, these rooms were full too. Like it wasn't like it was like 5-6 people in there for, and I did a crossword puzzle game show on Saturday night. I was a contestant in a crossword puzzle game show. It felt very, very Hamiltonian. It was done by a gentleman named Zach, and he wasn't bad at rapping, but let's not act like it was hip hop. You know what I mean?
Was it Zach? What do you remember his last name? Because there's a Zach who makes a lot of puzzle games.
He's in LA.
I think I know. I think Okay, wait. Okay, wow. So much to unpack here. First of all, it's the Wide World of the name and
Wonderful
place
World
of
Words. Wonderful World of Words at the Mohonk Mountain House. It is quite the literal. I think a literal would be the word, but yes, it's very literal.
And would you say Mohonk also described the demographics of the convention? I want to know exactly what the vibe was like, the people.
The demographics are in line with your expectations. Okay. Now, I want to say something for the people to understand about these people as they are trying to visualize them. Certainly, it was a nerdy affair, right? But I did not see a lot of weirdos. In fact, I didn't see anybody that I immediately thought of as being a weirdo. there were younger people that I would have expected that were there. There were certainly older people. They all were very kind to me. I want to be very clear. No, I was not the only. There was a couple couples that were there, and
what about
we
would
were
I have
very.
been the only? Like, what's the male
Oh,
female?
no.
A lot of women, yeah.
Oh, no. Let me tell you, a lot of people are together over their love of puzzles, apparently. And I think that works out well, because if you got a love of puzzles in the couple, then each of you does your individual puzzle, and you ain't got to worry about somebody calling out clues over your shoulder while you trying to do your own goddamn puzzle.
I think you've articulated something in this that's really important, which is nerd, dork, and weird are not all. It's like if there's a little bit of Venn diagram, but there's a very clear distinction, right? Like, you can be a nerd without being weird or being a dork. You can be a dork without being a nerd. I would argue that's the worst kind of dork. A dork who's not actually good at anything. Right? You know what I'm saying? Like,
yes.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine if you had like really thick glasses, like you couldn't see, but your GPA was only a 2.3?
I'm thinking back to school, like the specific, like the kids who were like who were strange, but also not good at school. That's a really tough place to occupy. Yeah. And I think there's a lot of people we would think, but I love that you embrace the nerds. Which is
Absolutely.
the takeaway I'm getting, because it seems like you had a great time and you felt embraced back.
I did. I had a good time. And I also found the people to be very, very interesting. Like the couple that did the presentation on escape rooms, who described themselves as, they told the story about how they were looking for an escape room, and they get there and it's just somebody's house. And the escape room, I think it was in Hungary, and the escape room is in a basement. And they said, okay, we'll do it. And then they pressed pause on the presentation to say that the two of us, we are extraordinarily murderable. Like, they were explaining that the idea of going into this escape room in a Hungarian basement just in a neighborhood is definitely not the wisest. Now, look, they just put something on the screen for the podcast listeners with Bo and Mina doing escape room for content.
Oh my God.
I was actually thinking the whole way, is there somehow that I can get together, like we could do like some kind of right time escape room sort of thing, maybe in a city that has better escape rooms than New York City, but I could see that being a lot of fun, just having a little escape room event.
How would that shake out? Let's say you, me, and Dominique, our mutual friend, did an escape room. Who's taking the lead? Who's solving it? Who's calming? Is there any tension involved?
I have no doubt that you are taking the lead, because in something like this, you are absolutely the most competitive person.
Yeah, that's right.
I am definitely down to let you be the one who's in front. Me and Dominique can fetch things. I'm kind of the secondary playmaker. Like, I operate from the high post, help you supplement, help him get stuff. You know what I mean? I can humble myself to the team that's around us.
Dominique's the glue guy.
Dominique's someone's got to be the yeoman, right? And he's faster than us, so he can go get stuff faster than we can.
Yeah, Dominique is neither a nerd. He's a little bit a nerd, but he's definitely not weird, and he's definitely not a dork. And I also feel like he is very good at translating. Like, he is very emotionally intuitive and would understand. He understands both you and I, and would do a very good job of translating like our intentions. And
like, I think I get to nerd, but not quite dork space. Not quite there. I think, I haven't quite gotten there. Oh, but I have to tell you this, because this is what you love. This is when I texted you and let you know, because I did not have that many friends that I thought would find that this endeavor I had embarked upon was that interesting. I met Will Shortz, who is the editor of the New York Times crossword page. I didn't realize he was an icon until then. You were like, who? And I said some guy named Will, because I couldn't remember his last name at the time. I just do the puzzle. See, that's the thing that people don't know. Mina's one of these killers that be like doing the Saturday in 11 minutes, and also clearly has studied more into this than I realized that she had. No, I did not realize what an icon he was until I listened to him, and then I started Googling him up. Like, I was talking about some different puzzle, the puzzle I did on the Puzzler podcast, where it'd be like 26 L of the A, and the answer is letters of the alphabet. Will Shortz invented that. They were telling me about all kinds of other puzzles he invented. I looked it up. He graduated from Indiana with a degree in, I can't remember what it's called, but he got a degree in puzzles. He also has a JD from Virginia, but he got a degree in puzzles, and he just be cooking up puzzles. He's the puzzle OG. He also played table tennis, because he never once said ping pong. I got the feeling this is important to him. He played table tennis once for a stretch of 11 consecutive years. The only thing that stopped him was a stroke.
Wow. I didn't know that. That's incredible, Laura.
Every day for 11 consecutive years. He said he would not take a trip if it would not allow him to keep his streak going. So he had never been to Australia because there was no way to get to Australia without doing that. He goes to clubs. So he's not just running up on like the Y. He's not just going to the boys club.
They got that in LA. Yeah.
Apparently they have it everywhere because he's played table tennis in 44 countries.
Can I tell you a table tennis story?
You can.
I'm incredibly good at table tennis. So I just
really?
Oh my God. I mean, not to be like too on the nose about it.
So do these things run together?
Yeah. There's probably, there's definitely, table tennis has to be the nerdiest sport. Also, it is my people are very good at table tennis, as evidenced by the Olympics every year.
I didn't know if it was just the Chinese.
Mine as well. You can at the Olympics every year. We are in the mix. And I grew up playing. My mom was unbelievable. And my mom is the kind of like old Asian person who shows up with her own butterfly paddle and holds it like this, and like she's a late 70s career woman who is not particularly athletic but will still dominate you in it. So we grew up playing. And I'm extremely good. I just am. And my husband years ago had a Christmas party, and you're gonna like this. He had a boss who thought he was good and was like playing people at the Christmas party. And we were like, you should play. And I really had a crisis of conscience, which is, this is my husband's boss. Everybody's watching. He thinks he's very good at this. How hard should I go? How hard do you think I went in that moment with those social dynamics at play?
I think your plan was to go about 6.5, maybe 7. I believe that somewhere along the way, either someone said something or someone did something, and you couldn't help yourself, and you wore his ass out. Did I map this out 100% how it went?
Oh my God, you know me really well. So yes, I started off being like playing at about 60%, keeping it close, trying to let him keep his pride. And then he got chesty and he was talking and and then I just probably scored like 10 unanswered points. And then he lobbed one up and it was literally like in slow motion where I was like, bam! And I hit it so hard and it hit him in the nose. And I honestly, it was really, yeah. I felt really, I was not my best moment. And then, he was trying to laugh it off. And I was like, oh God, my husband's watching. Like,
I don't think I have told you is that you remind me in many ways of my mother. And my mother is one of these don't mistake my kindness for weakness types, as you have a bit of a stripe of. And she is highly competitive when it comes down to it. And that is exactly how I could see things like playing out for her. Is just gonna, oh, okay, so that's what we doing.
Which, not to being a segue, but the fact that I'm such a competitive freak maybe makes you think I would be on your side with this whole domination versus parity.
Well, see, we will get to that. I will say, I remember this once. I think we were doing an episode of Highly Questionable once, and we were talking about doing either the mini or the crossword or whatever, and that clock does things for you, right? The clock don't really do much for me. The clock turns it on, and you said something like basically to the effect of, so you mean everybody's not just trying to break a record every time? And I'm like, no, I'm just trying to have a good time, man. We are wired much differently, except I do have it in me. I just turn it all the way down because I don't think it's the best of me. I have it there. I try to zen-like. I just be trying to compete with myself. But man, luckily I scare people because otherwise it would come out because they would be saying stuff to me.
That's the thing. I think because of who I don't scare people. So yes. Maybe I am overcompensating a little bit. What I'm frightened about, Bo, is not myself, but I have such an asshole sports parent inside of me waiting to come out. And he's only one now, so we're years away from that. But it's going to be so hard for me not to be an asshole when he starts playing sports.
He got some advanced mobility, right?
Yeah, he does. Yeah, no big. Yeah. It's not a competition, but yeah.
I seen a little. I was there when the little homie was a little homie, and I was like, oh, okay, he's doing a little bit. Also, apparently being encouraged to do that a little bit. I could kind of see that. You know what I'm saying? I see it brewing for you.
You know, we see like when we're around other babies and they're just kind of flopping around and he's displaying the fine motor skills. There's a little voice in my brain that's just noticing. And then there's another voice that's trying to tamp that down and not read too much into it and make a big deal. But yeah, I do fear that my competitive side will infect that. And I'm going to have to do extra work to keep it at bay. That's all I'm saying.
So I just thought about something with the table tennis I hadn't thought about before. And so, I went to college at Clark Atlanta University. I grew up on a college campus. Prairie View University is the two HBCUs, different types. One of them's a state school, one of them's private. You know, that matters in subtle ways. But anyway, I could always tell who had a little bit of a hard scrabble environment. I used to call them old boys club dudes, right? They show up in the game room, air hockey, foosball, pool. They beast. They beast in all of them. And of course, the table tennis. Because after school, somebody was like, man, we got to keep these boys off the street. We'll just send them in with very simple games to play. And then they go in there and they play them games. This seems like there was room for some cultural outreach that we didn't think about, ingratiating cultures with one another, overplaying table tennis against each other. Except as I say this, I also realize in hearing your story of the competitive beast coming out, it actually might just make things worse.
Yeah. I mean, you definitely get more fights. You definitely get more fights that way. But I grew up with an older brother too, so it was a lot of just him beating my ass and foosball, ping pong, air hockey, all this stuff you talked about. And so I was kind of like, it's like how you how you read about how like the U.S. women's national team, how they grew up playing with the boys and it made them like killers. That was me, but table tennis, air hockey, foosball, no big deal. No big deal.
Do you do the escape rooms?
I have not done those. I'm trying to think if I had done any. Although you said that Copenhagen, right, is where they're...
Apparently, they talked about it. There's an escape room in the Netherlands, and the theme of it is you have taken a hallucinogenic drug, and they set the room up to make you feel like you're hallucinating, and I can't wait.
That doesn't sound... I think we have different... approaches generally towards the experiences we gravitate towards on substances, because that sounds like my worst nightmare. That sounds
that sounds like it could be a hoot. I mean, since I know what it's going to be on the front end, it would be different if they didn't tell me it was going to feel like hallucinating. That would not be the bomb. But if you can just tell yourself it's okay, baby, it's just a trip. You know what I'm saying?
No, that's not how my brain works. I do think though, I had read somewhere that in Scandinavia they're excellent at all the nerd shit, like escape rooms, role-playing games, puzzle stuff, because it's so cold and dark there. Like there's nothing else to do. There's like social reasons for why they've like been so amazing at creating games and puzzles generally, which I found kind of interesting.
I'm surprised they're not better at basketball, right? Like them basketball states like Indiana, Kansas. I get it, man. You ain't trying to go outside, right? I don't understand why they're not better at doing that. What I like about the escape room though is like take a little bit of your crew and then mix it with other people, like you talked about with me, you, and Dominique. Watching everybody understand what their roles are. And for me, it's always interesting because it's not just I'm watching everyone understand their roles are while watching a portion of the room realize that the dude from TV is in here playing this game and everybody tries to get it right. Luckily for my sake, I've never been in a situation where somebody misunderstood what their role was supposed to be in the room. We have not had to tell anybody to sit your dumb ass down. Like, nah, you don't do that.
Oh, wow. Sorry. This probably doesn't deserve the reaction I just did, but it just came across that the Colts are going back to Anthony Richardson. Sorry.
Oh, yes. We were saving that. No. We were saving that. I was trying to get to like the midpoint and didn't want to start something new. But since you did bring it up, does it seem clearer to you than ever as it does to me that they just put him on punishment?
So that was my original thought, right? But then the way they talked about it was so bizarre. Because I kind of when they made the move after the whole tap out incident, I wasn't super against it at first, actually, right? Like my thinking was like, he needs a timeout. He's not just because of the tap out incident, although I do think that factored into it and suggests that what you're thinking it might have some truth to it, but also like he's regressing, his play is not improving. Maybe they just want to give him a breather. Then the coach comes out and they're like, nope, Flacco's our guy the whole season. And that's when I kind of turned against the decision, because that to me suggested it was like they were unhappy with him, maybe for reasons we're not even seeing, which I hate speculating about, but the whole thing just made no sense. Talk about a backfire, though. It's second to my all-time favorite backfire. We talked about this. My all-time favorite coaching backfire involving a quarterback.
No. Well, mine is when they put the Peter man in for Tyrod Taylor. He threw 5 interceptions in 15 minutes.
That was an amazing one. But my favorite one is when Ron Rivera benched Cam Newton for not wearing a tie.
Yes.
And Derek Anderson, and he threw an interception on the very first play. Nothing will top
One play.
that. Nothing will top
One play. It was one play.
So
I had forgotten about that. As soon as you started, I was like, oh, that's right. It was one play. But when they put the thing with the Peter man was, I hate that I didn't get to watch it. The Warriors were playing against the Nets. I want to say that this was fall of 2017 because I had just moved here and I still lived in my old apartment. And so I was meeting my buddy Corey Urban at the Barclays Center. I got in the car just at like the start of that game. By the time I got out of the car, he had 4 or 5 interceptions, and it only took me like 40 minutes to get down there. And they had to go to Tyrod and be like, by the way, they were in the race for the playoffs. They tried to blame everything that was wrong on him. Yes. And then he's so much better than me, because I'd have been like, nah, sorry, I ain't been reading the playbook this week. Let the Peter man do it.
Do we think Nathan Peterman's still on an NFL team? If you had to guess.
I'm certain that he is.
Because he's constantly popping up on teams.
I don't know. Does he have a great...
I did not know this. He's on the Atlanta Falcons.
Wow, they got Kurt and the Peter man?
Practice squad, but...
wow.
Yeah, wow.
Is he just like a really nice dude?
I think so. That's what I heard in Buffalo. Yeah, he was
like, I don't know what it is, but like all those people came out like when he was a 5th round pick, and they really did not want that Tyrod thing to go any further. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And so they kept it going, and then they brought and then remember the next year that they got Tyrod out, their original plan was not to start Josh Allen. I want to say Josh Allen was something like 3rd on the depth chart to start the year, but they rode the Peter man out there, and bruh, I wouldn't go do it.
I was thinking about your theories about, the black up thesis with Flacco and AR when they made the move. But
yes,
when it happened, I was thinking like, did people actually watch Joe Flacco last year? Because
I think there was this.
Yeah, there was this perception. Wow, the Cleveland Browns, and it's like no. Like, he was coming in for such a bad quarterback in Cleveland that by comparison, anything, you know what I mean, looked better.
Right.
And I don't think it was appreciated that, like, no, this is not, there's a reason why he couldn't even hang in New York at the end.
No, Joe Flacco was playing truthfully like you want your backup to play. YOLO. Like, look, y'all asked me to play. I did not ask you. And he was willing to take throws, make plays that you normally don't get, right? So there was like this high end that the offense could achieve. But boy, he was out there trying to give it away a lot. Yeah, like his should have been interception total is a lot higher than it seemed. And this way he played for Indianapolis is not different than the way that he played with the Cleveland Browns. It just didn't go as well this time.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing, right? Because the case, and I saw a lot of people, former quarterbacks, NFL analysts making this case. Well, he's a veteran and he's just poised and he's going to manage the game well, and Richardson's going to sit down and learn from him. And when he started throwing it to the other team against Buffalo, I mean, the jokes were just writing themselves, right? Like, yeah. But it's like people, when we say this, I don't think either of us are arguing that Anthony Richardson is NFL ready or so much, is it that they made such an error in benching him. That's not it. It's who they benched him for and how they went about it. That makes no sense to me.
Yeah, and I've seen people make the argument, I think Orlovsky was one of them, that Steichen is calling, and maybe it's because Richardson is the guy who can't throw a pass 5 feet in front of him, but he can throw one 50 yards down the field. It's a really ambitious passing game that they're asking him to execute. But as it was in college, the film guys your guy Dan Orlovsky said the same thing. The film was so much better in that last game than the stat line was. And I don't know why. Unlike any other player, this continues with him where the film guys are always like, no, watch this. But for whatever reason, he can't throw the ball 5 feet in front of him.
Yeah, it was a weird game because I'm in agreement like that. The film was a lot better. There was a lot of really. This is the last Richardson game, right, where he had like 40, maybe 40% less than 40% completion percentage, something awful. And guys were dropping passes. There were some really ugly drops. I think the tension though is exactly what you described, which is he can make throws that maybe like 3 dudes on earth can make, but he can't make throws that 31 dudes can make. And so you're left with this like weird position where like I genuinely don't know what you do. What you don't do is say Joe Flacco's the future and we're going to make a playoff run. That was stupid. I think that's the thing too. And this is such a thing with the NFL, right? Like there's just like a lack of realism about your situation and your season, right? The Colts, come on, like at best, you're maybe sneaking into the wild card and then getting your ass beat by Kansas City or whatever. It's not what the season is about. Season is supposed to be about seeing if Richardson can improve. And if he can't, then next season you move on. And so for them to like deviate, it shows you how when you have a team where everybody's kind of got different incentives, like coach is trying to save his job or wants to call competent offense, the GM might get fired. That's when you start getting decisions that don't actually make sense like this one.
Let me tell you, I would give him all the way through the 5-year option to figure it out, because if he does, he is literally the most physically talented quarterback I've ever seen, right? And he seems to have the brain for it. He needs to start games, but in order for him to start games, that means he has to start games. And he does not seem ready to start games, and I don't know how you get ready to start games without starting games, because I'm all about letting guys sit.
Yeah. So it's not
Well, he sat last year, but it was hurt. Like it wasn't like he was out there getting reps in practice. He was hurt,
Right.
But I can't give up on this. I saw the first time I saw him play as a redshirt freshman, I was like, oh, that's a first round pick right there.
Well, our biggest L is the example.
Josh Allen changed the whole game. And at first we were like, yo, is Josh Allen going to like open the door for a lot more of these? Except there aren't a lot of those. Except there is one, and he's Anthony Richardson.
Josh Allen was not good his first 2 years. It's amazing watching him manage a game now. He plays quarterback at a really high level now. He takes what's given to him. He is accurate underneath. I am telling you, he was not good. He was more consistent than Richardson. I will say that, but he was not good those first 2 years in the NFL. And then he got better and he played more football. And now he's one of the best quarterbacks on earth. So I'm not saying Anthony Richardson will follow that trajectory, but it's possible.
What I admire about Josh Allen is why all these people were out here lying about him. He was the one who was honest with himself about all the things that he needed to get better at doing, and bless him, he went out there and he did it. But we're going to go take a little break, going to come back. Mina has an argument that parity greater than dominance, and I disagree. So we're going to disagree in front of people.
Hate that. I love that.
Hey, the NBA is officially back, which means you can turn $10 into $1,000 in a single game watching your favorite teams only on Prize Picks. You can make a Prize Picks lineup between the NFL and the NBA in as little as 60 seconds. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It is guaranteed. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types are what make Prize Picks the #1 fantasy sports app. But rather than hearing it from me, let's hear from our expert picker. Sean, how the picks going for you?
Bo, I guess I'm solely an expert picker for the sheer volume of picks I make, but it's nice having both the NBA and the NFL give some variety to picks. Plus, Prize Picks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out your lineup if it's not perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. Prize Picks offers weekly promotions that could lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday, and you get discount selects on player projections up to 25% to provide even more value for your lineup.
There we go. So you make sure to go to prizepicks.com/Bomani and use code Bomani for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/Bomani. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Let's take a moment to say thank you to someone in your life, whether it's your therapist, loved one, or a friend who really listens to you. It's always helpful to show some gratitude. Sean, is there anybody in your life you want to send some thanks to?
For me, Bo, I'm always just thankful for my friends and family who have been through me through good times and bad, and especially in this current climate, it's nice to have people around that really care and want to talk to you. So while this month is all about gratitude towards those people in our lives, there's another person we don't get to thank enough, and that's ourselves. It's sometimes hard to remind ourselves that we are trying our best to make sense of everything, and in this crazy world, that isn't easy. So here's a reminder to send some thanks to the people in your life, including yourself.
If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Celebrate the progress you've already made. Visit BetterHelp.com/Bomani today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Bomani. Finding the perfect gift can be tough, especially one that won't end up in the back of a closet. This holiday season, do what I'm doing and give the gift of planning unforgettable experiences with Viator. You can book guided tours, activities, excursions, and more. Viator has over 300,000 travel experiences to choose from, so it's easy to find something that everyone on your list will enjoy. Plus, they have real traveler reviews, so you can pick the perfect experience with confidence. And with free cancellation and 24/7 customer support, you can gift worry-free, knowing that plans can change, but great memories last forever. Whether it's a unique way to explore their own city or an adventure on their next trip, a Viator experience is a gift you won't regret. So skip the predictable presents and make this holiday one to remember with Viator. Download the Viator app now and use code Viator10 for 10% off your first booking in the app. Find travel experiences for you. Do more with Viator. All right, we're back with Mina. Sean, I forgot to tell you this. If you can find the tweet where Mina talks about parity and dominance, you can pull it up. I just want people to understand how we got here. And I wasn't like challenging Mina to defend herself. It just so worked out that we had an opening for a guest, and I wholeheartedly disagree with her. Shout out to my man Rod, who points out that you used the meme correctly in doing this. Sean, you got it? Do you let me know you got it?
What meme?
Yeah, take it. On one hand, and so I don't even know why it is that this came up, but it's the dude standing up giving the contrary opinion. And Mina says parity is better than dominance in sports. And so I would like to, rather than to challenge you, I'd like to hear more about your thoughts.
I feel like I said it's an unpopular opinion. I feel like this should be the mainstream opinion. Why would you want to watch blowouts? Why would you want to watch, especially in football, which is what this was stemming from? I don't want to watch someone beat down another team that's boring and have to change the channel at halftime. I want to watch a close game.
You don't have to change the channel. That's the best part. You don't like dominance. I love just a flat out dominant juggernaut. You cannot appreciate the juggernaut.
In football? Okay, so
yes.
I don't like it in any sport now that I think about it, but we're talking about football.
Ooh, I love it in basketball.
Okay, your Lions. Let's talk about it. Because they're your Lions now.
Yes.
The Titans, right? Was the one where Jared Goff threw for 20 yards in the first quarter and they were still up 42 or something like that.
It was beautiful.
So you enjoy that more than like a close fought battle between Detroit and the Rams in the beginning of the year, for example.
You got to understand, I'm the godfather of beat 'em down. That's the house I grew up in. My daddy, I like a blowout. What I like watching is excellence firing on all cylinders, right? I don't need it to be like it's three juggernauts and everybody else stinks. But when there's a team like one that's legit capable of going like 15-1, well, I guess 16-1 now, or having that level of just like, it is like Barry Bonds. That's a great example. Like a football team that gives you what Barry Bonds gives you. I love watching that higher level of performance. It's why I can find like high school sports to be compelling in the presence of a dominant player that's going to be a pro later. There's something about watching somebody that's just better than everybody else is. That's exhilarating.
I don't want to psychoanalyze here, but I'm going to do it. That feels like a very like, I don't know, not selfish, but like individualistic worldview where you love like great performances by individual. And obviously football is a team sport, so you're talking about a team dominating. But
yes,
do you not enjoy having your emotions pulled and the highs and the lows?
Yes.
Like, wouldn't you rather watch your Lions team barely beat someone and it comes down to the last second and it's 4th and 10 and Amon-Ra St. Brown breaks a tackle and they barely win? Like, isn't that better than watching, the Lions win 31-6 or whatever?
Oh, I want that in context. I want that every now and then. It was exhilarating that it went that way against the Texans the other night, for example, right? But what I want to make that exhilarating is knowing that they be tapping that ass when they play everybody else. And so you had your chance to get up there with the juggernaut. Like, you can't have an upset if everybody just the same kind of good as everybody else, right? When the Lions were down there against the Cowboys and they tried to throw a hook and ladder to number 58.
Yeah. That's extreme.
You can't tell me that wasn't great. You didn't love that?
No. I also, let me throw out another theory as to when there's dominance in sports are easier to understand for us, right? Like, it's easier because like we're in the business of trying to explain what we're seeing, predict what we're seeing, not talking about picks, but rather just be like, yeah, I know this team is good. I know this team should beat this team. And then when it happens, there's like a sense of, okay, the world makes sense. Right. So sports are harder to talk about when there's no dominance because it's confusing, right? Like when all the NFL teams are equal and it's not really clear who's going to win the Super Bowl or whatever, it actually makes it a little bit harder to unpack and discuss because anything could happen.
Yeah, I think that's fair. But I think so in the presence of dominance, people find their ways to beat those teams, right? Tom Coughlin somehow found a way to beat one undefeated Patriots team and another one that was very, very good, right? So like when you have that juggernaut, the other squad got to go gorilla with a U. You know what I'm saying? They got to figure out how to pop up out the ground and make things happen. That's the kind of stuff that's interesting to me. To me, the only way to have widespread parity is to have widespread mediocrity. And so it almost feels random who wins and who does not win. I like the idea. So the one time that we as a world did not love the dominance, the one time that we did not love the juggernaut, not that we love the juggernaut itself, but we kind of love the experience of the presence of the juggernaut, is when Kevin Durant went to the Warriors. And the reason was y'all were already the juggernaut, but you didn't win in the finals, right? The most dominant NBA team that we had ever seen. Somebody could still get them, but then they went and got Kevin Durant, and it's like, damn, can't nobody get y'all, right? That
How did you feel about that at the time? Okay, too far.
No, I thought it was very interesting, and I very much so defended Kevin Durant for going to the best team that was available, which is what most people did. And I also tried to talk myself into believing that somebody could actually beat them. And those lies made it okay. But I understand better now why people were like, okay, well, basketball is over. Like, what are we even doing here? But to have like the suspense that you talk about, I think you need to have the stakes and you need to have the expectations. And what makes the winning feel good is having the presence of somebody that ain't all the way there, and then they can get there and make it happen. Like, to me, the NBA has to have a dominant team. And I think one of the reasons that it hasn't been great these last few years as a fan experience is the absence of the juggernaut.
I agree with that, and I think it's definitely the difference between the two sports, right? Because in the NFL, there's this inbuilt expectation that anything can happen any given Sunday, so to speak, right? Whereas I think with the NBA, it's just not. It doesn't feel possible, and if it is possible, something's gone wrong, I think, when you look at some of these matchups. I do think, though, with the NFL right now, there's something interesting happening, which is a big part of the reason why there is this parity or perception of parity and that there aren't really dominant teams, even the Chiefs team undefeated, most people think, kind of, they just won with a blocked field goal, is that there aren't many super balanced teams. I think of a team like the Ravens that have like an unbelievably dominant offense and then a struggling pass defense. But does that bother you? Because so we would look at the Ravens and they're not dominant, but they're dominant on one side of the ball.
Yeah, I do. I love how good their offense is, right?
Yeah.
And I do think it becomes interesting having them with the defense. I don't want their defense to be that bad, though. They got mossed by Bo Nix. That happened. I watched that. They got mossed by Bo Nix. That's the best play Bo Nix has made all year long. Mossing them. That I did not like.
When was that? Was that 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, that was 10 days ago.
Before the election or after?
It was before.
Should have seen the way this thing was going after that.
That was a metaphor. That was a metaphor right there. Hey man, we should have known which way Pennsylvania was going when you realized they had Cooper DeJean and Reed Blankenship, baby. We losing recipes. We losing the country over here, man.
Oh, they're so good, Bo. They're so good.
You know they have to be good. And for those of you who don't know, the Eagles got 2 white dudes in their secondary, and nobody's giving them a chance. Ain't nobody more racist against white defensive backs than white people. For them to get that far, they had to overcome, they had to get past the crabs in the barrel, and then they had to run over the real ones. They earned it.
They didn't play Cooper he didn't start until like week 8, and he was so clearly better than Avonte Maddox, I guess.
Me and Dominique have been on this for the longest. They kept trying to talk themselves into, he needs to be playing the slot. That would be the better thing. I saw people make the point, and they were right. If you wanted him to play corner, it's just because you got an agenda. I do have an agenda that one day my children will be judged not by the color of their skin, but how fast they are.
Is there a reverse black up theory at play that you could apply towards? Is that dude somebody was calling for them too at linebacker?
Yo, like somebody was really like defending Avonte Maddox to the point where they're like, we'll just put Cooper behind him, and that way this will prop him up. Like somebody was answering for his acquisition. Because look, white defensive players overall, I would be having more white defensive players than the whole SEC. That happened one year. I counted it out by hand, but they stay sending them white dudes to the league, and they be good. Yeah. They're tight ends. They not like just in line blocking tight ends. Those white dudes be fast.
First of all, Zach Bond's mixed, so I'd like to apologize to anyone in Zach Bond's family is watching.
Oh, yes?
Yeah, I just pulled him. I was like, he kind of looks like a coach from the New Girl. Anyways, I like if you were to put together an all underrated NFL defense squad.
It's all white dudes.
Trey Hendrickson, Max Crosby, rushing the passer, Zach Sealer and Zach Allen on the inside, been freaking dominant. Yeah, it actually, wow. Shit.
Now we have enough quarters.
Yeah, you have enough quarters.
Because Riley Moss is starting in Denver, right?
He's good. He is really good. Yeah. Yeah, although he got a little bit cooked against Kansas City, but yeah.
Look, hey, hold on. This is my question. Now that we done had a changing of the guard out here in politics, right? And they getting rid of all the DEI. Does this mean that Iowa gonna have to start putting some black people on defense again? Is Kirk Ferentz DEI fence out of the window now, or are we gonna allow that DEI program to continue?
What do you think the recruiting operation, how does that play out though with Iowa? Are they even sending people to Florida?
No, they are getting some, right? Like they get a handful. They're good, especially like them satellite camps and stuff. They get a few guys, but what they figured out, and I think you and I talked about this, if you want to get a fast white dude, you got to go to the cold places where it's nothing but white people and nobody's been there to batter their self-esteem and tell them what they could not do. Cooper Kupp, Jordy Nelson, Riley Moss, and Cooper DeJean are both from like Iowa, South Dakota, in those spaces. Mm-hmm. And so they going out there, they getting them in the strength program because it's a market inefficiency. The best programs always got some white boys where they not supposed to be, or some black dudes where you don't think that they supposed to be. Like Belichick out there winning Super Bowls with white wide receivers. Tom Brady was out here like the 50s. They ain't even like they had a black dude at running back, but Belichick is always looking for white dudes at them places. Look at the Dan Campbell program. There's always an Anzalone. They went out there and got Aiden Hutchinson. They know. They know these other cats is out here slipping. These white boys this is the only place in the world where the white man is underrated.
Where's Alex Anzalone from? I'm so intrigued. By
I am guessing he is from either Boston or Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. It's like the tall poppy syndrome. Is that what they call it? Where like if you're surrounded by, or maybe that's not what that one means. But
no, what happens is if you got black dudes out there, then they gonna play corner, man. They not even considering the possibility that this white dude might be capable of doing that. Now, if your daddy the coach, then maybe they let you play wide receiver. You know what I'm saying? But otherwise, they can't free their minds enough to see the possibilities. And any white dude that goes to the SEC to play, I give you credit because this is an extension of this. The Big Ten is always gonna get you like a TJ Watt, a JJ Watt, like AJ Hawk back in the day, kind of the superstar caliber white defensive player. The SEC never has any of them. They have told all the white guys in the South, you can't play the black positions. You better learn to throw, or maybe you could be a cheerleader.
I am now envisioning a strategy, if you will. This is like the new money ball, but you got to come up with a different word for it. Where Bomani, you become the GM of an NFL team, and you're going black quarterback, black offensive line, white wide receivers, white pass rushers, black safeties, maybe. I don't know. Just you gotta just completely inverting the races, and because of so it's like you're arbitraging this. You're gonna have actually the best, most underrated players at every position. It's like this was obviously the case for years with black quarterbacks.
That's right, $30 million under the cap. And, buddy, we going to have the fastest kicker in the league. Our kicker, we will have the only kicker who could also run back kicks. That's what we're going to have.
When the Steelers had a black punter, but he wasn't good.
Yes, Big Harvin. Big Harvin. I remember him. I love it. The Browns had, what was his name? Rodney Hudson, I think his name was. Rodney Hudson was he offensive lineman? But I remember they had an athletic punter, and they called a fake punt one time, and that motherfucker was so fast, he took that punt and was out.
Oh my God! Wait. The Steelers have another black punter. Is Mike Tomlin using our theory?
Yeah, I think he is. It was Reggie Hodges, by the way. And see, that's how you know Mike Tomlin trying to do this for the people. You know what I'm saying? He's like, he doing it a little bit at a time. He know he can't get away with but so much. You know what I'm saying? So he gonna do the little bit that he can. He went out there and decided he was gonna reclaim Russell Wilson or Justin Fields. By the way, you're the Russell Wilsonologist here. I don't feel like he's gotten that much better, but he's been put in a position where it'll work.
Yeah, he still throws pretty good go ball, and the Steelers very smartly have just leaned into that, right? And coupled with the fact that the run game has been good, which I was dead wrong about. I thought the run game was going to really struggle without Fields. It's been better, actually. And because of that, Wilson's facing a lot of those single high structures, and so he's getting those one-on-ones on the outside, and he's just shooting. I mean, in this last game, he was missing over and over, and they just kept going, and then he hit Mike Williams, and I don't know how sustainable it is against defenses that don't play it that way, but it's clearly an upgrade over what they had with Fields. So I definitely will admit that.
Yeah, I wonder if I could. I don't know if he's good enough to play for this team that we're trying to put together, right? Like Justin Fields, we could put him on the practice squad and give him a little more time to work on where he's coming. Because the quarterback's a little different, man. They can't afford to be the people that they used to be at quarterback. The stakes are entirely too high these days. You just got to do what you got to do. The Giants might even take Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah. What would be more shocking or work poorly? Jerry Jones taking him or John Mara?
I could see Jerry Jones taking Shedeur. It's Dion that I can't see, right? But John Mara taking Shedeur Sanders on every level, can't see it. let us not forget, they let Geno Smith start one game, and that was the first game a black quarterback ever started for the Giants, and they gave Eli Manning his job back for 2 more years.
This is, by the way, speaking of Eli, how the whole parity thing started, and because I got into a bunch of stupid internet fights about this. It drives me crazy right now that not everybody's a straw man, but there's this like narrative that quarterback play is not good right now, or that, young quarterbacks aren't playing well, when the best quarterbacks in the league are all like an average age of 26. We're getting like incredible rookie year out of Jaden Daniels. Drake May actually is looking pretty decent too, shockingly in a horrible situation. And someone who was beefing with me was like, look, you're saying quarterback play is better than it's ever been. Look at 2011. And they just put up like the total yards, and Eli Manning was third or whatever. First of all, that was the lockout year. So defenses didn't even get to practice. But also like, that's just such a, like, we can't really compare quarterback play stats across eras anymore, because Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, etc., they're not going to put up those yards anymore, but they're still obviously better than those guys. Like, certainly Eli. Like, there's this like nostalgia thing happening that really is irritating me right now. That's how I got to the whole parody discussion, by the way.
Got it. Now, I do think that you're correct. The nostalgia thing there's something to that. I've talked about this for a while, that there was kind of a 15-year period where they didn't know how to evaluate quarterbacks with the change of paradigm of play. And so between 2005 and 2020, or even looking in the league now, the reason so many of these guys are 26 is because guys older and into their mid-30s, that whole generation of quarterbacks didn't happen, right? They all, or even the ones that kind of did. Cam Newton, already out of the league. Andrew Luck, bailed on his own. Jameis Winston did not pan out. Jared Goff, welcome back. Carson Wentz, hey, forgot about you, right? Like, it's a whole run of these dudes, and there's a big void in the league where those guys aren't there. And so I do think we ask quarterbacks to do more, and then in asking them to do more, you kind of have to account for that as you step it up. On the other hand, they get the RPOs, and they get some of that other stuff. But it feels to me, and I could be wrong here, but it's like the eighth best quarterback in the NFL now is probably better than the 8th best quarterback has ever been.
Yeah, I think
that's
100%
fair.
True. Totally fair. The other thing is, like, defenses are just much better now. I mean, I've been watching football my whole life, and I feel like that's why, again, stats don't really capture what happened. Like, everyone's like, well, they're barely throwing it downfield. Well, they're barely throwing it downfield because of the way defenses play them, and defenses aren't just like lining up playing, bump and run cover 3 and letting them dice them up. Like, there's more disguise. They're more athletic. The pressures are crazy. Like, it's harder now. But yeah, the rushing aspect too is just all quarterbacks, not all, but most good quarterbacks now do have some sort of dual threat aspect to their games. And by the way, that includes your Joe Burrows, your Josh Allens, right? So your Justin Herberts. And that, again, also really affects stats because, it changes. Like, you can't just look at passing yards or passer rating anymore. It just doesn't capture what's happening.
Somebody told me a story about talking to the Chargers ahead of the 2021 draft, and they were going to draft a black quarterback, they said. And I think they thought Tua was black at the time, which is not an unreasonable thought to have. But anyway, somebody said, what about Herbert? And the response, paraphrasing, was close enough. Everybody got to have a little giddy up is the overall point that they were making.
He was shaking the Titans defender. I don't know if you saw any of that game. He was Euro stepping. Like, it was, yeah. He can move.
Yes.
Big fucking move.
Yeah. No, it is. Yeah. There's more required physically of the quarterback. The Tom Brady's of the world will tell you mentally not as much is required. There's something to that. I do think we're about to move into an era, though, where you go back to letting the guys sit for a little bit. Like, I've never seen a quarterback that was hurt by waiting to play. Now, granted, how do you measure that, right? How do we know that say Phillip Rivers wouldn't have been just as good if he didn't sit for 2 years, or Aaron Rodgers wouldn't have been, Jordan Love. Although, remember, they had us thinking that they were worried about Jordan Love until they weren't.
Yeah. But Jordan Love probably could have started sooner and would have been good, to be honest. Sorry. Like, I don't think he needed all of those years. I think the hardest part, though, isn't even evaluating whether quarterbacks are ready, because, again, looking at the top 3 now, Jane Daniels, everybody knew was pro ready. He had played a ton of football. He was Heisman. He was extremely polished as a prospect. Drake May, I mean, everybody thought he was the most raw, and honestly, he looks pretty damn good to me. Caleb, what I feel like most of us, myself included, didn't apprehend was we all thought the situation was better than what it was. And that's not absolving him. Yes. He's not played well at all. He's been frantic. He's inaccurate. He's not checking down, etc. But that wide receiver group, the way it's put up together, the offensive line, the coordinator, everyone miscalculated how good that was. And same thing in Panthers last year. Bryce Young's first year. Oh, Frank Reich, that's great. Oh, they're really putting together a great staff there. Well, everybody was wrong about that. And I think that's the hardest part about this whole, like, when should quarterback start? How will they play? Is not only are we bad at evaluating the quarterback position, we seem to also struggle with evaluating the situations that they're walking into.
Right. And hey, look, here's the other part too about trying to let a quarterback wait. We talked about this on Monday. You know how much a legitimate bridge quarterback costs these days? $40 million a year, because that's Kirk Cousins' salary. Like, they're the ones who are doing it. Our bridge until Penix, if we're going to have a decent quarterback that we have a chance at winning any games with, those kinds of quarterbacks cost $40 million. Like, you could argue Minnesota getting one cheap with Bradford, but, I think you called them sympathizers. My new thing is same Darnold. Not Sam Darnold, same Darnold. He's looking like the same Darnold.
It's not been good.
He threw three. He threw three of them things last game, didn't he?
He honestly should have thrown more over the last 2 weeks. It's been something bad. That's how good that team is, man. Still winning.
They are. Well, they were also playing against Mac Jones. Forgot about you, buddy. He played for his hometown Jacksonville Jaguars.
I know. Someone was at me about saying that the Niners should have taken Lance over Jones, and I was like, I mean. Or pardon me, yeah, because I had said it was right to take Lance over Jones.
Yes,
and I was like, I was wrong, but also I'm not taking an L here. Right. Like everybody was wrong about that.
Now, let me tell you, I get a lot of hell about that Josh Allen L, and that's how you know how particular personal it was to Buffalo. Because a much bigger L that I have definitely taken was if Brock Purdy could do this, imagine what Trey Lance can do. Apparently, Kyle Shanahan did imagine what Trey Lance could do, and it paled in comparison. Now, I think it's his. I think he's still got to answer for it, but the Purdy thing has worked out better than I thought it would.
The fact that Lance isn't even starting over Cooper Rush in Dallas is concerning. Speaking of teams that have no sense of where they are or whatever, but Purdy's playing well. I mean, I watched that game pretty closely, and it's often the same. Steel players make so many insane plays, and it sucks that you can't acknowledge that without a million Purdy, whatever they are, cropping up and saying, well, you're discrediting the quarterback. I'm like, I'm sorry. George Kittle just mossed 5 dudes. I'm going to point that out. I'm going to point out that Juwan Jennings makes like unbelievably difficult catches in this game. Doesn't mean that the quarterback's not fine.
George Kittle, quietly underrated football player.
Yeah. Hall of Famer. No doubt.
I think he's been the best tight end in the league post-Gronk. For some reason, I don't think it comes up.
Yeah. It's very close for me. This is such a cop-out, but it really depends on whether you're talking about like the tight end holistically, right? Because Kittle is so much more of an all-around complete tight end. Right. Kelsey, I feel like just the big plays and big moments, it's hard to not factor that in if you're considering like who he's been in the playoffs. It's
right.
Pretty remarkable. I'll tell you what, though, the kid in Arizona, McBride, he's the next.
Oh, yeah.
Whew, holy crap, that guy can play.
Don't forget about that guy, Sam Laporta, up there playing for my Detroit Lions.
Was Goff throwing 5 interceptions and then winning the perfect win for you?
Yes. Yeah. That's what winners do.
Yeah.
That's how winners get down. Losers would have folded up their tent. Winners keep their chin up and push through. in a moment like that. That's how I realized. I realized that these guys were some winners when they were eliminated from the playoffs in the last game of 2022 and still went out there and ran through Green Bay's face. That's when I knew we had some winners. And then when they missed it on those fourth downs and they all said to a man, no, that's what we do. It happens.
Yeah,
I knew we had a squad full of winners. And then that 5 interception game right there, winners, winners, winners.
This is why wins are not a quarterback stat. They're a coaching stat. Is there ever a moment where you're like, ooh, Dan Campbell's not going to get it done, or Dan Campbell's lost the locker room, or they could be down 30 points, and I would still believe Dan Campbell's motivating those guys. It's funny to watch a quarterback throw 5 interceptions and come out of the game feeling more confident in the team. That's insane.
Yes. I loved it. I loved it. Did you see my hoodie? It is so dope. I wish I had it in here. I would wear it every day if I. Oh, it's so dope. You can see it in some of the videos that we done made. That Honolulu blue. I ain't realized that Honolulu blue was hitting like that when they was losers. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of how those Patriots red jerseys with the white man on the side of their helmet in the crouch. That wasn't hitting when I was a kid because they was losers. I remember I saw Tom Brady wear them as a throwback. I was like, oh, those are kind of clean.
Yeah. I feel like everything about the team right now is hitting. There's nothing that doesn't feel right. You might argue that they're the, along with the Chiefs, the only dominant team in the NFL, right?
Along with the Lions are the only dominant team in the NFL. The Chiefs out here squeaking right now. Well, the Chiefs are a dominant defense and the best quarterback I've ever seen who's not playing like the best quarterback I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Best team in the NFL, Detroit Lions. For the first time in my life. This ain't never happened before. First time in my life. Best team in the league, Detroit Lions.
You should get my guy Barry Sanders to come on.
I should. I will always remember this. We had Barry Sanders on Highly Questionable once, and he laughed at most of my jokes. And I took a lot of pride in that because I got the feeling that that's not really his jam.
He's a man of taste. He's a man of taste.
He is. That's right.
Lions Super Bowl, it would be incredible. I feel like Lions Ravens would be the best possible vibes Super Bowl that I can think of.
Let me tell you something. A Lions Ravens Super Bowl in New Orleans is the blackest thing I could possibly imagine in this world. The people that are going to be there for that Super Bowl. And look, I saw who the people that came for the Lions for the last Super Bowl in Vegas who bought the tickets and still came. It's a wide representation. There's a lot of mom spaghetti coming down from Detroit too. I don't want to pretend like it's not, but it's still going to be, that's going to be fun. Ooh, that's going to be fun. I can't wait.
It's a great fan base. And also because it's been so long, like it'll be insane. I mean, the overwhelming, like, when you go near the end of the Brady era, we would go to these Super Bowls and you could tell Patriots fans were like, we'll come back next year. Or like, like they just weren't they weren't traveling the way they used to. Holy shit, if there's a Lions Super Bowl, it'll be crazy.
Yeah, let me tell you about a Patriots Super Bowl. Not the blackest thing that I've ever seen in my life. They managed to go a whole decade and change without a single black person worthy of buying a jersey for. None of them. I saw a Patrick Chung jersey. I think that kind of counts, but that let me know everything about how far down you had to go. I didn't even see a Randy Moss.
It counts. I've done research. Patrick Chung, we've only got about 15% of him or something. So yeah.
Okay. Got you.
Don't let the name fool you. Yeah, he's
just got. But I got the feeling that it was. I got the feeling that the person. It's like all the way up there. I got the feeling though that the person. But I got the feeling the person who bought the jersey was definitely going for the Chung part. That was with the lean, because otherwise, why would you have a Patrick Chung jersey?
We'll take what we can get. We will take what we can get.
Throwing it out there. Hey, that is Mina Kimes. Check her out on the Mina Kimes Show with Lenny. It is a podcast on football that you should check out. I appreciate you.
Thanks for having me. Good luck to your Lions.
Yeah. Yes, that's right. My Lions. Sean, you got prize picks for the people? My Lions.
I sure do, Bo. Thursday night football, divisional matchup, Commanders versus the Eagles. Let's go Terry McLaurin, 62.5 receiving yards, I'll take more. Dallas Goedert, 3 receptions, I'll take more. And Jalen Hurts, 21 fantasy points, I'll take more there for that Thursday Night Football matchup.
There we go. And ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us here on The Right Time. We do this 3 times a week. That's Sean Yu. He handles everything behind the scenes. Thank you, sir. Also, check out our YouTube channel for exclusive YouTube content at The Right Time YouTube channel. Remember, follow The Right Time, subscribe, like, rate us, review us, give us 5 stars. You only give us 4 stars. I'm inclined to believe you are a hater. And we'll talk to you guys in a couple of days. Take it easy.